live from SDS Studios in Jonesboro, Arkansas for Was It Really That Good? And alongside me is my partner in crime tonight, Gene Jackson. How's it going, Gene?
Not too bad. I've been sick for a few days. So
he's got the virus, y'all. He's got the virus. We gotta go.
Man, I tell you what, I had to go to Walgreens and get some medicine yesterday, and I coughed in line, and I could have brandished a pistol and not got as many harsh looks as I did making one cough. God almighty.
Now, we're recording this way, 10 days before it airs, so the Earth, United States may be completely gone by then. So, at least I could schedule the podcast to go out in time. So,
whoever's left, I hope they enjoy it.
I hope you get to feeling better, and, everything's cool there. I don't go outside anyway, so it ain't no big deal for me. I'll go to the grocery store and places like that, and that's pretty much it. So it's not been a big deal here. But baby girl works at Walmart, which kind of scares me. I make her wash her hands as soon as she walks through the door and ask her if she talked to anyone that coughs. So there we go. All right, well, then we're watching something you picked. You picked this one again. This is the second month in a row that you picked something. Night of the Skywalkers, a big pay-per-view, 1986 Starrcade, and I was a freshman in college. That shows you how old I am. And I remember watching this as a trading tape. I think I traded Memphis for somebody to send this to me.
Well, not to make you feel older, but I was 9 years old when this happened, and the last one I picked, strangely enough, also from 1986. I told you the first VHS I ever got was the big event that we watched last month, and the second VHS tape I ever got was the Great American Bash 1986, and of course this was the Starrcade that followed. And I'll just stop there. I don't want to get ahead of the show premise, but we'll just kind of go from there on how this went. But I will say that my favorite match that I had when I watched this as a kid changed watching it back now. And we'll just at the end you can ask me which one is now my favorite match. I
will, because I don't know. I don't think mine changed. One of them I liked a lot more. I think I liked one that you'll go, and that everybody else will do that, but I liked it then and liked it now. And I think my favorite match is still the favorite. Well, let's get started. I want to say something real quick. This was one of those times when they had 30,000 people in a total of two places. They were in Greensboro Coliseum and the Omni in Atlanta. I like the Omni better. I love the tape in there, and it just, to me, it was more exciting. The crowd was, especially for this first match. We started with Tim Horner and Nelson Royal against, was it Cornodle? I don't think they knew who the fuck to call these guys.
I think even the commentators were alternating Cornodle, and I've heard it said both ways over the years. Looking at it phonetically, I would say Cornodle, but I think you're pretty much free to choose at this point.
Yeah, that's well. And then Lance is giving me hell for one of the shows we did. I talked about Tony Guerrera. I think I called him Korea or something. I don't even remember what I called him. So he's giving me hell. So this is not my fault, Lance. They called these guys both. I don't remember both these guys. I remember Don being a tag team partner, for the World Tag Team Champs. And but his brother was damn good.
Yeah, and if you go back and watch Starrcade '85, his brother was wrestling under a different name a year before, it's like Keith Larson. Tagging with Ole Anderson, I believe it was, as a babyface. So, yeah, so within a year, he had gotten a new name, which I think was actually maybe his legit name. I'm not sure, but yeah. My memory of this time period as a fan at the time is a little sketchy. And some of these guys I don't remember as well, other than just going back watching it, over the years. But the biggest thing that stands out, and maybe you caught this, I don't know, but the biggest thing that stood out to me about this match is they had been getting heat on Horner for a little bit. And at one point, he breaks free, and he is literally almost brushed up against Nelson Royal, and yet he goes back, hits a drop kick, and goes right back in to wrestling. And it was just, I feel like if Cornette had been on commentary, his head would have exploded because they'd been getting this heat on him, and there he's right there to make the tag, and he just goes back and just starts back wrestling. And Nelson doesn't really try to tag, I guess, because maybe that wasn't the point in the match. They wanted him to get the tag, but it just stood out like a sore thumb to me.
Yeah, not much of a match. I can't even remember who won, if you want to know. I think both of them were supposed to be baby faces, and then, you're getting heel heat. Hell if I know what they were doing. They probably didn't either.
Horner and Royal won. They did one of the Canurdles did Canurdles, whatever the fuck.
Canoodle.
One of those guys rolled up Horner, and he rolled it on Drew.
Oh, yeah. I remember now. Yeah. That's, well, not good, not too good of a match. The second match was Jimmy Garvin, who I always liked. I know he always got shit for being one of the Freebirds, but I love Jimmy Garvin. I love his interviews. He's not that great of a worker. Sunshine at ringside? Precious. I forget which one it was. They all look the same.
Yeah, they're all blonde. So.
A lot of time for this match against Brad Armstrong, and I don't know, me and you talked about Brad before, but it's probably the same thing that everyone says about this guy. If he would have had the charisma of his brother, Road Dogg, this guy would have been world champion for a long time. Just an excellent worker. Still not much of a match, though. I didn't think there was much there, but it lasted a long time.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Freebird Jimmy Garvin. I wasn't really a big fan of 1987 babyface Jimmy Garvin, but I loved heel Garvin and World Class and early this time period in Jim Crockett. And I thought, man, as good as Garvin was as a singles heel and as underrated as Brad Armstrong was, this is going to be a hell of a match. And it just kind of drug on, and then it went to the time limit draw. And what was odd to me is you're coming up on the time limit draw, and it ends with Garvin coming off the top rope and missing a move on Armstrong, which just seemed kind of weird because normally the babyface is in control a lot of times, especially coming like off the top rope in a time limit draw. But anyway, the whole thing felt kind of weird, and I was disappointed because actually when I seen these two, I was like, hey, this is gonna be a hell of a match. And sometimes I'm doing other things while I watch some of these shows, and I actually stopped to watch that match. And when I got done, I was like, well, I could have kept doing what I was doing. But.
Right. I think the one thing that got me was like the simple stuff that they would do. Like when Brad would come out of just a simple hold that Garvin had on him, the crowd was popping. And I remember those days. I remember being in Nashville the first time that I was live at a card in Nashville and really feeling the crowd like that. Like just any move that they did from the opening to the end of the matches that the people sold. And that's the best way I see it. I say it is that the people are selling the move, not only the people in the ring, but the fans. And it felt a lot like that. It really did there for a little bit. And then our third match, man, this is going quick.
Can I add one thing to what you just said?
All right, yeah.
If you underestimate the effect the crowd has on a match, watch one of these god-awful goddamn shows with no crowd they're doing right now. Bless their heart, I know they don't have a choice, but Jesus Christ, that's hard to watch. Whew.
Yeah. Yeah. It is.
I'm talking about this shit like the SmackDown and the Raw this past week where there were literally
nobody there. Yeah, it's horrible. You're right.
I mean, even Steve Austin couldn't fucking salvage anything out of that.
No, I couldn't watch it. My mom said that was horse shit. That's what Mama said.
Well, she nailed it.
That was horse shit. I watched it a little bit, and then she told me if they're doing it again, I'm just turning it off. I can't watch WrestleMania like that. And I said, well, you got it right. That's the way I feel too. But you know how it is. I remember being one of my first matches. I was in front of maybe 1,400 people. That's a lot of people, and it was scary as hell. And then when I started managing, crowds were maybe 100. And then we went to a show with 300 people that was just so hot. And it's a whole different thing. Like your performance, you feel like you're, in front of 1 million people with 300, but you feed off that crowd as you're out there. So it's a different thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Now we had the third match: Barbarian and Pez Whatley against Baron von Raschke and Hector Guerrero. God. And
this felt like one of those freaking Battle Bowl matches where they drew it out of a freaking hat.
And the guy Baron von Raschke was a babyface.
Yes. Exactly. Baron von Raschke and soon-to-be Lasertron were the baby faces against Barbarian and Shaska Whatley. Like, I know it made sense at the time, but just when they come up on the screen, I was like, what is this, one of them Battle Bowl matches? Like, did they pull this out of their ass? Like, this is weird. Like, super freaking weird. And it was as good as you would think it would be.
Yeah, I thought 3 out of 4 of these guys looked okay. It just wasn't a real good match. But Baron was just old, and to me, it's like one of those guys where he should have been in an opening, but they popped for him. Should have been an opening match real quick, but they popped for him. I guess because he was Baron von Raschke. So. Well,
what's crazy, between Crockett and the AWA, Raschke spent the better part of the next 3 or 4 years that he was in the business as a babyface. Not to mention a brief babyface manager spot with the Powers of Pain in WWF. It's like, of all people to be a babyface. But like you said, he got a pop.
He did the goose step too, didn't he?
Yes, he did. And they went nuts.
Scary. Very scary.
Different time.
Different time. Yeah, there you go. My old buddy Dutch Mantell and Bobby Jaggers tagging, and this is the match I was excited about, against Ivan Koloff and Crusher Khrushchev. At the time, Barry Darso. All I can say is punches, and some more punches, and then blood, and then some punches. Dutch, that's all he did, and that's all Bobby did too, was throw punches. And I just don't know. Did they just tell each other, okay, let's just go in there and throw punches, let's make this an easy match? It
was the most Memphis match on the whole card, is how I can describe it.
Oh my God, I don't know. Just so surprised that I always thought Jaggers was a solid worker. He was a big guy, but a solid worker. But he just absolutely did nothing in this match. I'm thinking you two guys got a payoff for this. I'm not sure why you got a payoff, but you did get a payoff for this. And I actually, Bobby Jaggers was the first guy to ever tell what happened in Puerto Rico. And I interviewed him for my newsletter, Wrestling Right. Yeah. And this one of those things where every time I see him, I think about, here's a guy who left Puerto Rico, knew he was never going to back, and he stuck there. He never did go to back, and that he told the story too. So it was kind of scary when I did it, because I didn't know who was going to come knocking at my door. I was excited about the next match also. Rick Rude against Wahoo McDaniel in an Indian strap match.
Yeah, we're still a long way from 1990 Rick Rude. He's still kind of green here, and I mean, not as green as the Mid-South days, but not the Rick Rude he would go on to become. So it was a gimmick match, as most of the matches were on Starrcade, because you had a lot of blow-offs. But not a bad match. Not a bad match. But, Wahoo was late in his career here, and like I say, Rude's still kind of green, so it was what it was.
And both the guys bleeding. That didn't surprise me. I think I counted. I'll have a total count here before the end. Both guys bleeding. There's a story about Wahoo that actually at one time had a razor blade stuck in his head during a match, and there's photos somewhere where he wrestled half the match with the razor blade stuck there. Rude's still bumping though. He can still bump, even being green. He was bumping really well, and it was a screw job ending. I just really didn't like the ending, and a lot of these were. And I don't know if they was continuing a feud or they just had people that didn't want to do jobs. So.
Well, that Dusty booking sometimes gets a little convoluted, but we'll talk about that more as we go along.
That too. let's do this. Let's do this Austin Dundee match. Well, I'll talk about the Dusty booking during his match there. But let's go. We got Sam Houston. I said Austin. Jesus Christ. Sam Houston, same state. Damn it, same state. Sam Houston and Bill Dundee. So, what'd you think of this match?
Well, I mean, it's a match I've seen 1,000 times. Classic heel Bill Dundee. I said the Jayhawks versus the Russians was the most Memphis match on the card, but I may be wrong. You might could say this one's at least a close second. But I mean, not a bad match. Sam Houston could have been a good babyface had he just ever got any size on him. He was just always so painfully thin. He was always going to be the undercard guy, but. Classic Dundee as a heel. I
thought the same thing, and Dundee actually looked old in this, and I didn't know. I mean, he was a little overweight and looked old, and I'm thinking, I hate to say this, but he almost looks the same as he did, and he looks old now. I was just like, I don't know what was going on. I swear,
I was going to say this same match could have took place in Ripley, Mississippi, like 4 years ago.
Maybe it did. We just don't know.
It may have.
I don't know. Sam Austin. Oh, Sam Austin. I mean, Sam Houston. All right, guys. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back we got 6 more matches to talk about, and then we're going to answer, was it really that good? All right, thanks to our sponsors. I want to do a shout-out right here to my old buddy, Steve Cropper. Steve is a brand-new member of Patreon. Thank you, Steve. I do thank you for that. Also, Gene and I were talking today, and the next 2 shows, one of them's coming from St. Louis from YouTube, where they have some of the old St. Louis shows. And one's coming, it's going to be one of the Battle of the Belts shows. So I'm kind of interested. There's all this history about St. Louis, and are we gonna come back and say, I'm not sure anyone knew what they were talking about. So it'll be interesting to see. And the Battle of the Belts is, it was always cool because I think Gordon Sully did the announcing for all 3 of those. I may be wrong, but I do know he did one for the first one.
Can I tell you what always bothered me about that name?
What?
It should have been called Battle for the Belts, because with that verbiage, the belt should be the one battling, not the wrestlers. But that's just me.
Belts.
I'm an English.
Battle of Belts, yeah.
I'm an English fanatic. I'm sorry. I'm an asshole. I'm that guy.
All right, our next match, which I liked, and I know you're going to go, oh my God, Jimmy Vane against Paul Jones. Lots of blood. I know it surprises you, but and the crowd was just, they loved Valiant. They really did. But this is turning down at the end there where Paul and him did a bunch of good crowds, and then he got his head shaved, and he put Big Mama's hair on the line.
Well, I like this match for no other reason than the fact that Jimmy Valiant is wearing the exact same tights he was wearing the first time me and Neil Taylor wrestled him over at Hickory Flat at the Volunteer Fire Department. The exact same ones. But no, man, that had been such a long, drawn-out feud between the two. And, back at the Bash, they had shaved Watley's head, and then they shaved Valiant's head, and at one point they cut his beard, and I mean, this had rocked on for a year and a half or more. So, this was Valiant finally getting to shave Jones's head, and at the time, everybody was up in arms about whether Big Mama was going to get her head shaved, because, it wasn't unprecedented for a woman to get her head shaved, a la Dundee's wife in Memphis.
That's what this was. Yeah, this came right from that. Yeah,
exactly. So a lot of, and Lord knows that Crockett ended up, reusing some Memphis angles, I'm sure, that came directly from Dundee because he was there at the time. So,
yeah, I don't know. Valiant, I listened to Cornette talking about this run recently, probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. He was talking about, that Bate was underrated in the sense of how over he was at the start of this feud. That he did nothing in the ring, and you'd hear all these the kayfabe sheets. We got kayfabe sheets. I got them from the summer of '86 or summer of '85 on. So the kayfabe sheets were, Valiant's horrible, Valiant's horrible. Here I was, a huge Jimmy Valiant fan. But the crowd, and you know this, as you've wrestled him. I hadn't wrestled him, but I've been on a show before. Actually, I was on a show one time at Gibson, and he farted in the dressing room. So I just want everybody to know that I've heard Jimmy Valiant fart. So, but the crowd is nuts when he comes out. Just completely nuts.
Oh, yeah. I wrestled him 3 times. We had the exact same match all 3 times. I guess the most comical thing to me was 2 of the 3 times I wrestled him, he was convinced I was Bo James, even though at the time I had no facial hair. I had brown hair, not black, and we're just both fat is the only common thread I could see. But as soon as I walked up to him, before I could introduce myself, Bo James, baby, how's it going, Bo James? This is one of my favorite people right here, baby. Bo James, Bo James. I just didn't have the heart to correct him, so he thought I was Bo James, apparently. So.
I met him once in Gibson, maybe once in Dresden, Tennessee. And then I went to Osceola for a show, a Moondog show, and I was just in the crowd. Took the kids, and he pulled me to the side, shook my hand, and said, "You're one of them Gibson boys, ain't you?" And I was like, how the hell did he remember that,
Yeah.
He said, "You work for Killer." I go, yeah. Unfortunately, I did work for Killer, so. And that's how me and you met. So that was our love story. That's where our friendship started. There you go. So let's get up here. Let's get up to the street fight. Another match. I thought, God, this is going to be awesome. It's Ron Garvin, who people are going to say, you like Ron Garvin? Yes, I love Ron Garvin because of the stomps and the punches and just a badass. I remember a match between him and Andre that they used to show clips of on, I believe it was ICW, the old Savage thing. And I always thought Ron Garvin was such a badass. And he was going against Bubba Rogers, and Bubba was 2 times bigger than him, and just the thought that Bubba was going to get his ass whipped. That was what I was thinking during this match. But man, this really wasn't a good match.
It wasn't that great, but okay. So now you fucking killed it for me. Now this was actually the match I liked best on the show, just because I totally ripped this off at Pro South one time. We did the finish. I was managing a big guy who was not quite the size of Big Bubba, but compared to all the other wrestlers there, he was that size, and he was wrestling this real small guy. And we beat the guy, and so Ace was like, "Well, we need to beat him one more time. We need to drag this out for another few weeks." And so I had watched the VHS version of this, as I mentioned to you off the air. And watched that match, and I really liked that finish. So we took and altered it a little bit and used it. And I don't know. I guess I'm the exact opposite. I went into it the last time I saw it, and the night I watched it for this, with no expectations or low expectations, because I was not a fan of Ronnie Garvin at any point in my life. I enjoyed the Big Boss Man, but really never was impressed with Big Bubba Rogers. And for some reason, the match kind of stood out to me, and I liked the finish and all. So it was kind of my favorite match on the show. But now I feel like a dickhead for that. So.
Oh no! Hey, that's you. That's what the wrestling business is about. I really like the idea that you can go back and me just. I don't know. I think most of this stuff was just boring to me. That's the way I felt. I made a comment when I was talking to Dave from Man Brain, and I wanted to say this, that when I was watching this, all I could think about is that I honestly think the guys now are just so much better in the ring as athletes. And Cornette's gonna, flip over if he ever heard someone say that. But don't put that on Twitter. He'll call me, names and cuss me. I think they're so much better as athletes, but I think they're missing so much when it comes to the character, the interview, the being over. The way, and I think I know that part of the key is is that everyone believed it was real then. I really think that is a big key. That everyone knows it's not now. And even the workers do the wink and wink. Hey, yeah, we did this. And, hey, this is not real. And I think that is part. I didn't think that for a long time. But after going back watching this stuff, I'm just like, and we've watched a lot of stuff. Me and Lance has watched a lot of older stuff. And we've noticed that, the guys are just so over compared to the talent now.
Yeah, I mean, even as a 10-year-old kid, when Garvin beat Flair for the title, I was like, what the fuck? Like, that's ridiculous. How did that happen? But now when I go back and watch those old episodes of World Championship Wrestling, the show on Saturday night from when I was a kid,
right.
Me and Rosie will sit and watch them, and it's just like, Ronnie Garvin beats the dog piss out of these. Like, he is, between the Road Warriors and Ronnie Garvin, it's a wonder any of the jobbers or enhancement talent, if you will, ever showed back up, because, man, he just beat the piss out of those guys. And not to say that he wasn't rough in the ring with everybody else, because he was. But, I didn't differentiate that. When I was a kid, one match didn't seem stiffer than the other. I didn't pick up on that, but looking back on it now, it's just like, oh my God, Ronnie Garvin's a freaking beast in there.
Yeah. I guess that's what I think it stuck in my mind that Andre sold so much for him, and you can find that, I think, on YouTube. And it just, to me, I was just always thought he was such a badass. Now, into the next match, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes and Tully Blanchard, excited about seeing this. It was a first blood match. Knew there was going to be a screw job. I didn't remember how they did it. JJ was bleeding first. The manager outside the ring.
From the padded elbow.
Yes, with the padded elbow. This was a Dusty match, and Dusty got a lot of heat for doing things like this, and for this finish of him losing but not losing, so that the crowd would still say, yeah, Dusty would have beat him, but he wiped the blood. So Tully wipes the blood, or JJ wipes the blood off of Tully after ref bump. Then, if you will watch this in slow motion, you can't catch it when it's done. But this is the match I've talked about for, I don't know if ever on this show, but forever. It's where Tully kind of pretty much hits Dusty in the chest, and Dusty bleeds from the head.
Yeah.
If you watch it, when it's happening, you don't see it. But you watch it when it comes into slow motion, he barely touches Dusty on the chin and into the chest. The coins go everywhere, and Dusty's bleeding from the head. So I always thought that Tully should have started doing the heart punch after that.
I love Dusty. I've been a lifelong fan of Dusty, but watching this show, the thing that stood out to me is they should have spaced out the street fight in that match, because you had two heat finishes back to back. And you even had coins back, because Bubba hit Garvin with a roll of coins at one point, and then they turn around and do it again in Dusty's match. It just felt, I love the finish, as far as the Horsemen go, doing those kind of heat angles, I loved it. But doing the two back to back like that, and the other thing that struck me too about the street fight is, 50 times during the street fight, the announcers say anything goes in the Louisville street fight, anything goes, but yet Bubba pulled the ref and Cornette, hit Garvin behind the ref's back to put a little heat on the finish, but you didn't really have to, because anything goes anyway, so what did it matter if Cornette interfered? So to me, if you're going to turn right around and do a fuck finish with the manager in the very next match for the TV title, I would have either spaced those two matches out, or I would have, just not really played up that whole element of it got done behind the referee's back, since you're fixing to turn right around and do it again. But that's just personal preference, I guess.
Right. Dusty came out with a new haircut and a Magnum TA shirt, and I groaned when I seen
with Tully written on his side of his head, and then backwards on the other side. Even I was like, even as a kid, I was like, that's stupid. Why has he got his name written on his head? But
the big rumors back then that when Dusty aligned himself with Magnum TA, it was because Magnum got so much snooch that Dusty got some extra there. So he got the leftover. So that's the reason he was with him. That's why he aligned him with him. Next match. Well, first, before we do the next match, I recorded a quick phone conversation. You can't get much out of this guy, the beautiful Bobby Eaton. There was a reason Jim Cornette talked. Beautiful Bobby Eaton's going to be on the phone, and we're going to talk about this match, and then we will be right back to talk about it ourselves.
Hello.
Hey, Bobby, this is BT. What's going on, man?
What's happening, man?
We're doing a podcast on the Night of the Skywalkers, and I wanted to ask you a few things about it, okay?
Okay, yeah, Brian called me, told me he was going to call me.
Yeah. So I want to know this now. Did you shit your pants when you went up that high?
No, but I didn't really, it wasn't really enjoyable doing that, you know. But you don't do so much, you know.
Right. What was, when they said, hey, Bobby, I want you to do this, did Corny come to you, or did the promotion come to you and say, hey, I want you to get on the scaffold?
Both promotion came to us, you know. Because they had seen them around in Tennessee before, you know. And we did the ones, the very first one we did was down in Louisiana. You know, for Bill Watts. Then we went around for it with Crockett on NWA, TBS.
Yeah.
They come up to us and they knew if we were crazy enough to do it. That, you know, it really wasn't that exciting of a match to me, you know.
Yeah, I remember it being a big deal. Don't get me wrong, but then I sat and watched it. It was only 7 minutes. I don't remember that, but I know you couldn't do much. Did you like working the Road Warriors? Were they stiff or were they good? Were they fun to work?
I like working with them. Yeah, they were good. They were good. You know, I mean, they could be, I guess, stiff. I don't know. Yeah, they never did hurt me. You know.
Good. And then when you bumped, was this, you said you done some more, but you bumped different than ever. Well, Corny hurt himself, and Dennis didn't look like he hurt himself, but you kind of bumped on your side of your hip. Was that what you were trying to do?
Yeah. Well, I guess at certain times, you know, but I'd go on my side, you know, for some reason, I don't know why. You know, I guess I don't know if my back was hurting or what, you know.
Right.
I know remember. I can't remember.
Hell, I don't remember what I had for breakfast, Bobby. So
yeah.
Me and you about the same age, and you took a lot more bumps than I did. So what?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Go ahead.
Well, what I thought was really, and I don't remember this, but there was a lot of blood on that show, on that main show, and then y'all got blood too on a scaffold match. Was that just something that they thought would get the crowd going better if the roadies actually, busted you guys up?
I can't remember exactly how it came up, you know, but you know they throw your head against a scaffold, you know. So that automatically get a little blood that way, you know. You know, just it was. I know there was a lot of people's favorite match, some of them, but it was one of my worst matches I've ever had, you know.
Right. Well, yeah, you don't. That's the thing of difference. We talk about people that I was talking about Daniel Bryan one time. You know, he said he loved that stuff that he did with Kane, and everybody hated the stuff he did with Kane. So the way the way we look at stuff. As a fan, we may not actually see what you guys see or what y'all are doing. You know, we always thought the roadies were stiff and blah blah blah, but you don't have a bad word to say about them, which is a good thing. I know you don't want to work stiff people.
Yeah, well, I mean, they never hurt me. I mean, of course, working with guys that maybe that's that big, you know, I don't know how to explain it, but you kind of gotta be careful, you know, because they could hurt you because they, you know.
Right. Do you remember that night whether you guys were split up, baby faces in one dressing room, heels in another, or did y'all get to communicate before the match?
No. So a lot of times we didn't communicate, you know.
Wow.
Just like towns like Raleigh, North Carolina, they were on one side of the building, we were on one side of the building.
So you just knew the finish and just went in there and worked, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
That's
All right,
crazy,
man.
man.
I wasn't going to take up much of your time. I just wanted to put this in the middle of the podcast. I appreciate you doing this for me. Thanks, Bobby.
Yeah, you're welcome, buddy. Thank good. Everything's going well.
Yeah, how's everything going with you, brother?
Good, man. Good.
You got some toilet paper?
No kidding, we got some, yeah. Always full of it.
All right, I was gonna mail you some if you didn't have none.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, thanks, Bobby. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. You know what I thought was funny? The funny thing about the conversation with Bobby is that Bobby just kind of downplayed the fall from the scaffold. He goes, we did it a couple of times. We've already done a couple of these matches. So it was just like, what the hell, you know?
Yeah, and the Road Warriors never hurt him, and there was nothing. Unfortunately, it's great you got to talk to Bobby, and it's cool to have him on the show. But yeah, there's nothing really groundbreaking there as far as content of what he said. But it's still good.
I know, but you know, he's nice enough to stop by and talk about it a little bit. I thought it was funny that he was. I had asked him about whether they could talk about this match before this match, but apparently they didn't. You know, they're in separate dressing rooms, so that's just so weird to me. Because I don't think I was ever in that situation where I wasn't in the dressing room enough to talk about the finish anyway. What'd you think about it? This was my favorite match. This is my favorite match as a kid. And I still liked it. I still liked this match. It was a spectacle. That's all it was. It lasted less than 10 minutes, like 7 or 8 minutes. And just bump after bump. Why did they blade though? He didn't answer my question about that. But why would you blade during this match?
Add some excitement to the festivity.
Oh, I guess.
First of all, I got to say one of my favorite Cornette quotes is always. Cornette has been known to say Bobby Eaton wouldn't say shit if he had a mouthful, and you kind of see some truth to that. But this is, I guess, one of the things I'm enjoying about going back watching some of these old events from my childhood is seeing how your perspective change and what entertains you change. Because I remember as a kid, I thought, man, it's gonna be awesome. I got to see the Skywalkers match, and I remember as a kid, like. So one of my favorite things is to hear there was going to be a battle royal. But as you get older, you realize battle royals suck, and you can't do shit on a freaking scaffold.
No, you can't.
Now, granted, in '87, they were able to do a little more with Ricky and Robert up there than they had with Hawk and Animal. But yeah, I assume the blood was just for you to feel like you saw something up there because, I mean, they really and to their credit, Hawk and Animal moved around up there a lot more comfortably than I ever would, even if there was a wall on each side.
Oh yeah, you couldn't pay me enough to get that was fucking high, and then just following. But Bobby bounced. I was talking to him about that. He bumped on his side there, so it kind of looked. And then Condrey, he made me, and he made me cringe. Condrey did, and then Jimmy falling and hurting himself wasn't too.
Well, I was gonna say at the end of the day. The only thing anybody really remembers or talks about from that is Cornette coming off and blowing both his knees out. Is really the legacy of that match, and so that's when everybody asks me, "Oh, did you see the Skywalkers?" That's all I really remember is just Cornette.
Coming falling as hard as he could. Yeah, that was tough. Out. That was tough to watch, knowing that he did hurt himself too. Next up, we got 2 matches left. Next up was a cage match, Rock and Roll against the Andersons. Kind of excited to see this too, but it was, the gimmick with. Here's the funny thing: the gimmick with the Andersons, as you know, is work a body part. They work on the baby faces. In reality, that's what working the baby faces is all about. Is getting heat on somebody. And they didn't have a hot tag in this match. It was so weird. Robert Gibson, Ricky got the tag. Ricky got blood. They just beat the fuck out of Ricky, and then Robert jumps in the match, and they did a finish.
Yeah, I mean they had so many matches by that point. I guess it was time to do something different. But and again, when I was younger, I really didn't appreciate how great the Andersons were, but I was the world's biggest. Rock and Roll Express fan at the time, like back around this time, 86, 87, when I was 9 and 10 years old, like I used to put on black sweatpants and tie bandanas around them and go ride my bike and shit, It's fucking ridiculous, but I thought I looked cool because, by God, I look like the Rock and Roll Express.
That's
you know?
right. You did look
Talk to
cool.
my mom
Let me
and
tell
get me
you,
the
Jim, you look
David Lee
cool.
Roth T-shirt that Ricky Morton used to wear out to the ring sometimes, and so yeah, it was cool to get to go back and see that. But again, like I say, my biggest takeaway nowadays is like, man, I didn't realize how great the Andersons were, because as a kid, every time the Andersons come out, I was like, oh God, they're boring. So I really enjoyed the Rock and Roll midnight matches much better at the time than I did the Andersons. But
I did too, but I like I always like, and I like this part about this match is that I don't know, Ole always seemed real. He was boring, but you really didn't want to get in the ring with him. You know, he's one of those guys.
Oh, yeah.
It wouldn't bother you wanted to. I could probably try to beat up one of the Rock and Roll Express, but he was one of those guys that even at the age, he looked a little older here. I don't even know how old he was, but to me, at this stage, he could have whipped anyone on the roster. You know, you're like, put him in with one of the Road Warriors. We could still see a good match, you know, and things like that. But I was just starting to get really, I was smartened up around this time. So it's one of those things where you look at it and still not knowing the psychology of the match, but going back and being able to look at psychology, it's just, and we noticed this with a lot of programs we watch, it's really weird. And that might be a question to send to Cornette sometime. When did that modern day psychology actually start? And you see it a lot in the tag team matches that Cornette manages. And, you know, I asked Bobby that one time, and I know I probably told this, and I said, Bobby, when did, you know, I noticed y'all come in and out of heat different times and blah, blah. This was like the first time I ever met him. And I said, what made y'all decide, or how did y'all go over? He go, we just listened to Jimmy. And I'm thinking to myself, and I talked to Jim about this. I seen him at the Nashville Con, and I went around the table and we sat and talked, and he said it was just something he did. You know, the guys would do everything, but he would just say, okay, you take over. Okay, you take over. And I just thought it was hilarious. Bobby just gives all the credit to all those great matches to Jimmy Cornette. So
I just find it so crazy. I've probably said this on this show, and I'll say it till my dying day. If you take tag team wrestling from the era of the Andersons, Gene and Ole, and the old school tag teams, even like Steamboat and Youngblood and guys like that, and where you can find where it crosses over towards, you know, the shit today, honestly, like the Young Bucks and all that, to me, that transition happens with the Rock and Roll Express and the Midnight Express. Like, as much as Cornette bitches and hates the Young Bucks and hates all the high flying and spots and different stuff like that of today, to me, that we never get there if you hadn't have had the years and years of Rock and Roll Express versus Midnight Express. To me, that is where things changed, and that is where this all stems from. Now, it may have gone farther than he ever wanted to, but you know damn good and well the old fogies of the time, when they're out there watching, you know, Rock and Roll Express and Midnight Express having tag team matches, they're out there, oh goddamn, what are we gonna do after that? They didn't went out there and did every spot in the book. You know, them guys bitched on them as hard as Cornette bitches on the Young Bucks and Lucha Brothers and all the SCU and all those guys.
Oh yeah, it wasn't just, it was Midnight against the Fantastics too. They would just blow everybody away. They'd go out there and work their asses off, and I remember them talking about you know, the Horsemen would try to outdo some of their matches. But you're right, it all started there, and it's all started with tag teams. This was all something that we watched all the time, and it was all about, and you can watch Jimmy's tag team matches with the Midnight and Rock and Roll. Some of them are similar, but they coming in and out of heat different times. They have different hot tags. It's smart. They don't do the same match back to back unless it was, you know, two different towns way far apart. So there was the smartness of that made it so memorable for me. And I was a tag team mark, and that was when I started. I did that. I had one tag team baby faces that always went against my heel tag team, and that's the thing that we like doing the most. I mean, and me just standing outside the ring, helping them with psychology, when to tag, and all that crap. And it was all me spending so much time watching Midnight and Rock and Roll and how they did it, and what you do in certain spots and everything. And it was all about them. And you're right. I think Young Bucks could say that they were huge fans of the Rock and Roll Express and the midnight matches, and Fantastics too. Totally underrated that midnight feud. But yeah, good point. Good point. I never thought of it that way, but you're right. All right, let's go to the main event. Flair against Nikita. There's a joke that we used to tell back in the day in the kayfabe sheets that Flair could have a match with a broomstick and also Nikita Koloff. A good match with a broomstick and also Nikita Koloff. I don't know. How good was this for you?
I mean, it wasn't, but I mean, you know, the whole backstory is allegedly. I think people who were there that were booking have since confirmed this, I'm sure, but you know, this would have been Magnum TA and Flair. This would have been Magnum TA taking the NWA title, supposedly. But Magnum has the car wreck. We end up with Nikita. You know, I don't think Nikita was ready for the spot, even though he'd had matches with Flair during like the 85 bash and all that sort of thing. But, you know, Flair pulled it off. It wasn't a bad match, but it's just weird because, like, at that point, you know, I don't know. Is anybody really pulling for Nikita Koloff to win the world title? And what the hell would you have done with him after that? And, you know, all that sort of thing. But, you know, Flair proved that for years because, you know, not only could Flair have a match with the broomstick, Nikita Koloff, he later had matches with Lex Luger over and over and over again.
I'm going to say this. I think Lex was better than Nikita.
Oh, yeah. Lex was definitely better than Nikita. But I'm just saying, you know, we later found out Luger without Flair certainly wasn't going to sell any tickets or, you know, push any pay-per-views. But, yeah, I mean, the whole big fiasco at the end, all the pull apart and all that different crap, just, I don't know. But, I mean, what choice do they have? If you look up and down the card, what were you going to do, your third Starrcade in a row with Flair and Dusty? Which I'm shocked they didn't do that, honestly, or that Dusty didn't do that. Or start having, you know, tag team guys in a single with Flair. I mean, I guess they did what they had to do. Nikita was the best choice, but to me, and I know you haven't asked me the question yet, but, like, this show could have kind of went either way, but with that main event, it definitely sealed the deal for me on what my answer is going to be when you do ask the question.
Yeah, and here's with me. I actually liked this angle. I remember liking Nikita turning babyface and everything, but there's a couple things that stood out big time. I remember everyone talking about the way Nikita was so green, blah, 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 but it stuck out big time in this match. And also, as I said, it stuck out to me how good Flair was in that he really hid that. And this wasn't your typical Flair match that everyone talks about. And if you'll go back and watch when Kerry won the belt, when Kerry Von Erich won the belt, if you'll watch matches of Kerry Von Erich before he won the belt with anyone but Flair, you'll think, man, this guy's green as hell. But both of those are matches of people that he had that he would like call it and do the whole match, and it was not a Flair match. It was a match that was totally different and just fantastic. That's why Flair was always so good with Funk and with Steamboat. Guys that were really good, he excelled in it, and guys that sucked so bad, he made them look better. And that's I used to say that you can get in a ring and you can have a good match with someone good, but if you can get in a ring and have a good match with someone bad, then you're a damn good worker. And that's Flair always did that. So he would he would give it all and a couple of those standard bumps, but I was not a fan of this match, but a fan of, I guess, just the idea that Nikita was so green and Flair was so good. So was it really that good? Before I ask you, I'm going to answer, no, it wasn't. I didn't enjoy the show. I cussed you again this month, and I know I've had to make you watch a bunch of shit too, but just not. I don't know. This made me kind of think that that the stuff that we grew up with was just so much better to us as kids, and just like maybe the Flintstones or something like that. I don't know, but good guys that were over, some good wrestlers. But I asked myself a lot of times, what the fuck are they doing? But they had such a great crowd. I mean, so yeah, it wasn't that good. What about you? Was it really that good?
No, I agree. No, it was not really that good. it's a whole lot of nostalgia factor. I mean, if you look at some of these shows and if you sat somebody down and like, okay, this is the first time you ever watched wrestling, this is what wrestling is. I don't know if they'd stick around after that. But we got a long way to go before you can catch up and bitch about what we watch. God damn it! I mean, that all-star wrestling show. I should get three. I should get three bad ones to balance that one out. Good Lord.
Here's a quick thing: 13 guys juiced. Ed Sharkey actually he trained Paul Ellering, Barry Dorso, Nikita Koloff, and who else was on this show? Animal, Hawk and Animal. He trained all those guys from Minnesota, and I've actually met Ed. Just a super nice guy. He's credited to training Austin Aries and Bob Backlund. I didn't ever remember that, but those two names also.
There's a lot of time in between those two alone.
Yeah, I know it. So that's really weird. I don't know. It might be one of those Wikipedia things. But all those other guys, they came from right there in Minnesota, St. Paul, at Sharkey School. So, all right, Gene. Hey, thank you. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Same bad time, same bad channel. On the best little wrestling podcast in the business. Be there. And as everyone knows, I love my mama.